The Acer Predator X34 has served me well as my main gaming panel for these last few years. However, with rapid changes and evolution in both computer and gaming technology, this monitor that originally came out in 2015 is starting to feel a little bit like old news. So, to add sunshine to this pretty rainy day, I bought Acer's latest gaming monitor, the Acer Predator X34GS, which can run at a maximum refresh rate of 180 Hz and it has a 1 millisecond response time. Let's see if this thing can take its place as my main gaming driver on my desk. So what exactly are the main differences between the original X34 and the X34GS? Well, for starters, both of them share the exact same resolution of 3440 by 1440 and the same screen size of 34 inches, and they both support VESA mounting systems, as well as featuring IPS panels. And that's about it. Everything else is completely different. For starters, the response time. The original X34 came with a greater grade response time of 4 milliseconds. Now, even though these days 4 milliseconds on an IPS panel is still not that bad, the fact that we now have IPS panels that are capable of 1 millisecond, there's really no point in having a 4 millisecond IPS panel as your gaming display, because response time introduces another artifact known as ghosting. And this can be very off-putting in fast-paced shooter games, and refresh rates do have an effect on this as well. And the higher the refresh rate and lower the response time, the more smoother and more enjoyable your gaming experience can be as an end result. Now, speaking of refresh rates, the original X34 came out of the box natively with a refresh rate of 60 Hz, and it can be overclocked to a massive 100 Hz, providing a very highly noticeable difference in your gaming experience. And the Acer X34GS, however, takes that up another notch, coming out of the box natively at 144 Hz, over double the native 60 Hz that the original X34 came out the box with. And the X34GS is overclockable up to a maximum of 180 Hz, nearly double the overclocking potential of the original X34. Although the more realistic way to get those kind of frame rates is to either A, have super powerful hardware, or B, playing games that are either a few years old or just aren't very demanding. The main feature that drew me to the original X34 besides the refresh rate is the G-Sync module. At the time, I always wanted to experience favorable refresh rate technology, but because G-Sync is a proprietary piece of hardware and I had an NVIDIA graphics card, I was always limited in terms of what type of gaming panel I could get, and G-Sync panels tend to cost a lot more than their adaptive sync counterparts. And this was at a time before G-Sync compatible ever became a thing. However, these days, with G-Sync being able to work on adaptive sync panels and the X34GS being verified by NVIDIA as G-Sync compatible, it shouldn't matter anymore whether I have an AMD graphics card or an NVIDIA graphics card. Whichever one I have, I'm always going to get that buttery smooth variable refresh rate technology that I've wanted for so long. And thanks to that 180 Hz refresh rate, it's going to be even better on the new X34GS. Now, back in 2015, HDR was not really a standard like it is today for gaming monitors, so it's really no surprise that the original X34 doesn't have HDR support. The X34GS, however, does support HDR, however, unfortunately, it's only in the HDR 400 format. So if you want to have the true HDR experience, you're best off looking elsewhere at something that either has an HDR 600 or HDR 1000 level panel. Now, personally, this doesn't bother me a whole lot because I didn't buy this panel because of HDR, but at least it is on there and it definitely is better than nothing. Now let's move on to ergonomics. The original X34 has this ridiculously huge stand, so if you have a small desk like I used to have, trying to fit your keyboard, your mouse or mousepad along with your computer and maybe a couple of other things, you might have a bit of a hard time trying to fit everything on there. And the only adjustments that the original X34 offered were both height and tilt. No swivel support whatsoever, which can be very frustrating if you want to show something to someone. Now, unfortunately, the X34GS still has that stupidly huge stand. However, it is highly redeemed by not only having height and tilt adjustments, but now it has swivel. So if you want to show something to someone, it is a lot easier compared to what it was with the original X34. And with both of these monitors being base mount supported, you are no longer limited to that stupidly huge stand, and you can replace it with a compatible one that will fit your desk or even mount it on the wall. So now with all the technical stuff out of the way, it's time to move on to something I feel is a little more fun. Let's unbox this biatch! Alright, so it's been about a couple of days since I set up this new panel, and I guess the main question that needs to be answered is how does this compare to the original X34? Well, to sum it up briefly, the X34GS is basically just the original X34 on steroids. And I don't mean that in a bad way or, it's okay, but get something else kind of way either. This thing is a freaking beast. And compared to the original, the colors are so ridiculously vibrant without being completely overdone and blown up. So out of the box, this thing is well equipped for content creators. Now what about when it comes to gaming? Well, as expected, the X34GS rocks. Going from 100Hz to 180Hz was such a satisfying sensation, and dropping the response time from 4 milliseconds to 1 millisecond, even though that difference was pretty subtle, to me it was still noticeable. And having some level of HDR support is a nice bonus to have. And just out of curiosity, I looked up the direct competitor to this monitor, the LG 34GN850, and going by what I saw there, what we're getting here is a bit of a better experience at $100 less. For $1,500, you can't go wrong with the X34GS. And while I was looking up that information, I came across the Acer Predator X38. And at first I thought, holy crap, that must be the holy grail of gaming panels. However, the only differences are that we get 4 extra inches on the display, a slight bump in resolution to 3840 by 1600, and native G-Sync support. And that's it. The response time is the same, the HDR support is the same, and it overclocks to 175Hz. And brand new, this monitor retails for $3,000 Australian dollars. Personally, a little bit overpriced if you ask me. And because of that, the X38's existence on the market effectively makes the X34GS here the most popular and most obvious choice at half the price. Well, thanks for watching guys. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a like on it, and also don't forget to subscribe and follow my social medias, links in the video description below. And if you want to buy the X34GS, there will be a link for that in the description too. And if I don't see you in the next video, I'll catch you in the ring. Game on! Oh! That's it. No, had enough. No more. Finished. Done.